Polio is a once common and was once a widely fatal disease. It can vary in severity from mild to possibly fatal. In the spectrum of this is vaccination-associated paralytic polio and damage to the control of muscles. The poliovirus has 3 types. The wild virus type of type 3 has been completely eradicated in 1999, and there have been no cases of type 2 since 2012. The poliovirus is caused by an enterovirus. An enterovirus is any group of RNA which is single-stranded DNA viruses that occur in the gastrointestinal tract. The poliovirus's transmission is often known as the fecal-oral route, by exposure with contaminated food or water from an infected individual. The virus enters through the mouth and multiplies in the intestines. From here it can move into the bloodstream and can be carried into the nervous system. The virus is then free to replicate in and destroy motor neuron cells. When the virus attacks the nerve cells, various protein structures on the cells attach to the virus, and this is how infection begins. Polio has close to no symptoms in 90% of cases. If symptoms do occur, in mild cases the symptoms are often the same as flu symptoms. This includes fever, fatigue, muscle stiffness, and occasional nausea. If the virus spreads throughout the body and reaches the brain, major complications can occur, such as paralysis. It is because of this that polio is often linked with muscle failure. The symptoms generally begin 1 to 18 days after infection, and they will often stick around for 2 to 3 days for minor symptoms and 1 to 7 days for more major ones. Fewer than 1% of people who contract polio will develop paralysis. Of this 1%, only 1 to 2% will die, so an individual's chance of dying from polio is very, very low. Vaccinations are often weakened or dead strains of the same virus that they are marketed to combat. This particular strain will not cause illness to the individual, but will rather cause the immune system to produce T lymphocytes, or the T cells, which will multiply and attack the virus. When the T lymphocytes recognize the virus, they will multiply. And as the T cells multiply, they differentiate into many types. One of these, the memory T cells, will keep a copy of the code of the virus and store it in the lymphatic system. The memory T cells do this so that if the virus re-enters the body, the immune system is ready, so you, the individual, become immune. However, some diseases may change in chemical code, so medical science must also change the vaccine, and this is why you need to get a flu shot once a year. The polio vaccine used today is the IPV, or the inactivated poliovirus. It was developed in 1955 to combat a rampant polio outbreak. With more than 21,000 paralytic cases reported in the US in 1952, this was a much-needed vaccine. It is injected either muscularly or dermally, that is, in either your arm or your mouth. As the inactivated poliovirus is not a live virus, there is no risk of vaccination-associated paralytic polio. The inactivated polio vaccine triggers an excellent immune response from all 3 strains of the poliovirus. After 3 injections at a young age, it is successful in 90% of cases. However, the IPV may cause low levels of immunity in the intestine. If someone has the virus and is immunized, there is a slight chance of the virus continuing to multiply in the intestines. On the other hand of the IPV is the OPV, the oral polio vaccine. The OPV was developed in 1961 as a cost-efficient solve for the polio outbreak. It does not require sterile syringes, so it was often marketed for mass campaigns. However, it was found to result in a high number of vaccine-associated paralysis, in about 1 in 3 million doses. It has not been used in Australia since 2000, but is still used in some developing countries. A common question asked by parents worldwide is, do I need to vaccinate? The only contradiction to the IPV or IPV-containing vaccines is a slight fever or very mild anaphylaxis following the vaccine. The National Immunisation Program releases a schedule every year that alerts the public for when they should vaccinate their children or be vaccinated themselves if they aren't already. It is recommended that children are immunised for polio at ages 2, 4 and 6 months, and a booster is recommended every 10 years for people in at-risk areas. The Australian government has made the vaccination program for children free in order to promote the concept of herd immunity. Through promotion of these government-funded immunisation programs in medical centres and GPs, the control and prevention of once common diseases has been easily achieved. The release of the National Immunisation Schedule is an informative document that's shared throughout the community. Through making vaccination of children free, the Australian government is putting a high emphasis on the concept of herd immunity. Herd immunity is when a high majority of the population is immune to the disease. When this happens, it protects those who are vulnerable. As vaccination is free in Australia, it encourages parents to vaccinate their children for their own safety. A common argument against vaccinations is that naturally acquired immunity may be better for a child than vaccination-induced immunity. However, diseases that vaccinations protect us against can often be fatal. If only in small numbers, it is not worth the risk. It is much more logical to vaccinate and deal with minor side effects in a small number of cases, such as fever, than to risk dying by polio. Natural immunity to the poliovirus provides lifelong immunity against only the strain that you were first infected with. If you contract type 2 and live, you are still vulnerable to type 1 and type 3. Immunisation is highly effective. Since the introduction of vaccinations for children in 1930, deaths from various vaccine-preventable diseases has decreased by 99% in 80 years, even though Australia's population has more than tripled in size, from 6 million to 24 million. Vaccination has been highly effective in reducing the number of polio cases all over the world. The World Health Organization is leading a polio eradication project that aims at a completely polio-free world by 2018. Australia as a nation was declared polio-free in 2000. Polio cases worldwide have decreased by over 99%, from 3,500 in 1988 approximately to 74 reported cases in 2015. This can be chalked up directly to the global project to emphasize vaccinations. As previously rampant diseases, the near eradication of viruses such as polio, smallpox, and diphtheria is a clear indication of the effectiveness of vaccinations. Vaccinate for your own safety.